श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्. Dear friends, in our previous class we had seen how Adi Shankaracharya explains the sixth Anuvaka of Taittiriya Upanishad Brahmanandavalli, and in that context he has given one example how the Brahman becomes both the material cause and the efficient cause, instrumental cause of the universe. So if the Brahman is the material and instrumental cause of the universe, as it is supposed in the Brahma Sutra also, Sakshatcha Ubhayam Nanat Prakritischa Drishtanta Anuparodhat. So if the Brahman is both, then some logical problems arise. Now, Shankaracharya himself poses the problem and answers. Now the question is, Tadyadi mrutbijadivat karanam syad achetanam tarhi. So while explaining the Upanishadic statement that the Brahman is both material cause and the instrumental cause, Shankaracharya has given the example of clay, gold, etc. Just as the piece of clay is the material cause of the pot, just as the gold is the material cause of the ornament, so is the Brahman the material cause of the world. This is the idea. Then taking this particular example, there can be an argument like Yadi mrudbida bijadivat karanam syat. If the Brahman is accepted as the material cause like clay or gold, then like those, Brahma will also become an inert cause, achetanam. Because you have given the example of clay and it is inert. So do you suppose that the Brahman is inert, lifeless? The answer is no. No, definitely not. Because we understand your intention that if we say yes, then you say that Prakriti is already there inert. If Prakriti, lifeless Prakriti or Achetana Prakriti, insentient, can become the cause, then why to postulate the Brahman? So our answer is Brahman does not become inert or lifeless because the Upanishads have always stated that the cause of the universe had contemplated, had desired. This is very important. That the Chandogya Upanishad 6th chapter or the Taittiriya Upanishad, all these Upanishad statements, they clearly mention that before the creation, the creator had thought of that. The first he had got the thought of that idea, then from that idea only the entire creation has manifested. So Kamayutrutvat, this is very important, that the creator had thought of it. First he contemplated on that. And this contemplation is the main reason how Badarayana Maharshi refutes the Sankhya, Vaiseshika and other systems of philosophy in his Brahma Sutra. Ikshater Nashabdam is one. And in another also, Nanumanikam apyeke shamiti chet. Anumanikam apyeke shamiti chet. Na. Sharira rupaka vinyasta grihiter darshayati cha. Sukshmantu tadarhatvat. Tadadhinatvad arthavat. So all these sutras of Badarayana Maharshi Brahma Sutra, they try to explain to us that the prime cause of the universe had first contemplated on that. Then only the creation, the world manifested. So therefore, this Kamayitritva, or you can say Tadaikshata Bahusyam Prajaya, Ikshana or Sankalpa. So this is actually the base of all creation. We should not forget. Nahi Kamayitra Achetanamasti Loke. Okay. From the world also, if we want to take any example, we don't find any inert, insentient object being the source of desire or planning. See, matter cannot plan, matter cannot contemplate, but the Upanishadic texts state that the source of all creation contemplated. So this actually makes the clear difference between these two. That if you want to accept something as the source of creation, then that should be conscious, intelligent, not dead matter, because it cannot contemplate. This is according to the scriptures of our rishis. Sarvajnam hi Brahma ityavochama. Not only that, we had already stated in the beginning of the text that the Brahman is Sarvajna, all sentient, omniscient, omniscient. Why? Because it being the source of all creation, there cannot be anything which does not become an object of its cognition. So whatever I create, it comes from me, and I am having full control over that. Similarly, the Brahman also creates the entire universe, and that Brahman is omniscient. Ataha kamayitratva upapattihi. So because it is omniscient, it can contemplate. Now, this discussion leads to further doubts, and they should be cleared. The next doubt from this discussion is kamayutrutvad asmadadivat anapta kamamiti chet. Okay, if you say that the Brahman desires or contemplates and then creates something, in that case, the Brahman also becomes a common being like us. It is anapta kama. That means the reality or the entity which has not got its desire fulfilled, therefore it thought. But generally, all the Upanishads tell us that the Brahman is apta kama. Actually, it has got nothing to desire for, to aspire for. So actually, all desires are fulfilled. It has got nothing to do with other matter to fulfill its desires. It does not depend on any other. But because you are stating that it has got a desire to create, it becomes anapta kama, not apta kama. The difference is, if it is anapta kama, that means it has something missing in that. It has got something lacuna in that. Apta kama is complete. So this is the objection, or you can say doubt. Then Shankaracharya explains, na swatantriyat. Shankaracharya explains, no, it is apta kama verily, because we all are anapta kama because we depend. We depend on several things for our joy or completion, anything. So to fulfill our desires, we depend on other objects. But Brahman is independent, self-reliant. Therefore, swatantriya. This is what exactly in the Shiva Drushti Somadeva also says. This swatantra is the essential characteristic of the Brahman. So here, Brahman is swatantra, swatantra karta. And this swatantra is in the form of not depending on any other instrument or apparatus or paraphernalia, nothing. This is the swatantra. Yadha anyan paravashikritya kamadi doshaha pravartayanti. See, for example, kama, krodha, etc., when these take place in our mind, naturally they goad us, they compel us to do something. But not the Brahman. They cannot do anything to the Brahman. Brahmana pravartakaha na. They cannot motivate the Brahman or just propel him. Katham tarhi satyajnana lakshana swatma bhutatvad vishuddha natair brahma pravartyate. Again a doubt. Okay, if Brahman is kamaita, and because of that, if he is swatantra, and if he is not contaminated or influenced by his desire, etc., then whatever characteristics are stated in the beginning of this Brahmanandavalli as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, you yourself explained that these three are the definition of the Brahman. Visheshanam, Lakshanam, you said. Now, Swatma Bhutatvat, Vishuddha Natair Brahma Pravartyate. So, if Satyam Jnanam Brahma are the characteristics and pure, then why is he not prompted to take some action, to indulge in action? Now, it says, Tesham tu tat pravartakam Brahma prani karma apekshaya. See, it's actually Brahma is the force behind all these desire, aversion, etc. And the Brahman uses these as tools to give direction to the karma of all these beings. Because we understand that all the beings in the world, they are motivated by Kama, Krodha, Raga, Lobha, etc. And these only make that particular being indulge in some action, and then the karma chakra continues. This is the karma chakra. And in this karma chakra, Brahma does not have any active role apart from propagating that. Because otherwise, this karma, it is in the hands of the jiva. That's what the Vedanta says. But phalamata upapattehe, but the fruit giver, that means that entity that bestows upon the result of our deeds is verily the Brahman. We cannot expect the result from any other source, not even from karma, which is inert. Though the Mimamsakas accept karma as yielding fruits, the Vedanta refutes the idea, saying that karma is also inert, therefore it does not have the potentiality to give fruit to the beings. So therefore Brahman is the all-pervading reality and it gives the result. Tasmat swatantram kameshu brahmanaha. So therefore we cannot expect the Brahman to be in the control of the karma. Instead, on the contrary, we find that the karma is being activated by the Brahman. That's why the Chandogya Upanishad also says that when the Brahman desires that some individual soul should be uplifted, then he gives good karma to him. And when he desires, yam adho ninishate tam asadhu karma karayati. So naturally, when he desires that the soul is yet to be uplifted, then that soul indulges in bad actions. Sadhanantara anapekshatvacha. Not only swatantriya, this Brahman has sadhanantara anapeksha. That means, as I told you, when Brahman is alone and swatantra, it does not require the help of any other external means. It is anapeksha, not expected. So that's why it does not depend on any other thing to do something. Kincha yadhanyesham anatma bhuta dharmadi nimittapekshaha kamaha swatma vyatirikta karyakarana sadhanantara apekshacha na tatha brahmano. See, in the case of beings like us, all these desires, etc., depend on some karma, etc., which is different from the soul. But to the Brahman, it is not so. Because Brahman is the consciousness, so it does not depend on other. Kim tarhi swatmanaha ananyaha. So here we understand that all these, his sankalpa, his ikshana, kamayitrutva, that kamana, they are absolutely his own nature. Some people try to equate this with the Prakriti or Maya, but Shankaracharya explains that the Kamana, etc., they are actually not different from his own being. Tadetadaha. So with this idea only, the Upanishad Mula Mantra states, Sokama Yata Saha akamayata. Saha means Atma. That Atma, akamayata, desired. That Atma means referring to which? Etasmad Atmanaha Akashas Sambhutaha, that Atma. So the Atma desired. Katham Bahusyam, may become many. Katham ekasya ardhantara anupraveshe bahutvam syat. So how can a single entity become many? How is it possible? Prajayeya, may become many. Nahi putrotpatyeva ardhantara vishayam bahubhavanam. Kathantarihi. Here we understand the difference between the ordinary sense of the word and the typical sense of the word used in this context. Bahusyam, in the ordinary context, through the sexual contact only, we become many through the children. But it is not the sense intended always. Here the Upanishadic text says, that's what Shankaracharya explains, Nahi putrotpatyadi eva arthantra vishayam bahubhavanam atmasthanabhivyakta namarupabhivyakta. See, that Brahman can be many. It can become many. Being in its own position only, having different namarupa, it can become many. Atma sthana abhivyakta. So being in its own position, only namarupa are manifested. And because of these nama and rupa, so many nama, so many rupa, but it is single Brahma. And thus the Brahman can become many. Yad atmasthe anabhivyakte namarupe vyakriyete tada namarupe atmaswarupa aparityageneva brahmana apravibhakta deshakale sarvavasthasu vyakriyete tada tan namarupa vyakaranam brahmano bahubhavanam. This is very important passage explaining the scriptural word bahusyam prajayeya. So what is this bahusyam, bahubhavanam? He says, see, previously the name and form were not different, not manifested from the Brahman. Vyakriyete, when they are manifested, tada namarupe, then this namarupa, atmaswarupa aparityageneva, not leaving their own nature, essential nature. Brahmana apravibhakta deshakala. So in space and time, being in the Brahman only, sarvavasthasu vyakriyete, they only get different names and forms. Tada tam namarupa vyakaranam brahmano bhavanam. So ultimately, Brahman becoming many is nothing but having many forms and names, not actually getting differentiated from him, not exactly getting away from the Brahman and getting a different material. It's not possible at all, because Brahman is the material cause. You cannot expect another matter to fill the souls. So how can the Brahman be one and at the same time many? So this is the only option, that the Brahman is the reality, but because of his own desire, when he manifests all the names and forms which were dormant in him, just manifests, then it is bahubhavanam. Na anyadha niravayavasya brahmano bahutvapattihi upapadyate. Otherwise it is not possible in the case of the Brahman who has no parts at all, niravayavasya. Because see, if there is a particular matter like gold, you make it into 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 5 pieces and say that the gold has got several parts. But you cannot break the sky, break the air, break the space, because it is the ultimate. You cannot break it further. Indivisible. Brahman is so, niravayava. Brahman is single reality. So Within that, you don't find any parts. So therefore, physically becoming many is not possible in the case of the Brahman. Therefore, we understand that becoming many in this particular context is verily just manifesting the names and forms differently. Alpatvam va. And another problem is, if you understand that the Brahman becomes physically many, then a big problem arises, that the Brahman becomes alpa because so many parts have been separated from him. Then whatever remains, the remnant, will be only alpa. That is the problem here. And there is a Brahma Sutra which explains the same matter in a different word, that this Niravayavatva Shabdakopova, this Brahman is Niravayava. And if we attribute physical modification in the Brahman, then the Brahman will become Savayava. That is the problem. But it has no parts. Even in the particle physics, modern scientists also have discovered some particles which cannot be broken into further parts, the ultimate, like fermions. So how can we say that the Brahman can be broken or cut into further parts? Because all the Shruti Upanishad Vakya, they tell us that definitely Brahma is Niravayava. That is what the word Nishkalam, Niranjanam, Shantam, Advayam. So the Upanishad tells us, Bahutvancha yatha akashasya alpatvam bahutvancha vastvantar kritameva atastad dvareneva atma bahubhavati. See, if you observe in the case of the sky or space also, you can easily understand that the space occupies any object, and with reference to the object only you understand that there is limited space. But actually, is it possible in the space? Limited space, much space? Not possible at all, because space is space. But when we are trying to observe that with reference to a particular limited object, we attribute the limitedness to the space. Similarly, when the Brahman manifests, we look at the manifested thing and attribute this limitedness to the Brahman. But after all, Brahman has no parts, therefore it cannot be limited, unlimited. Otherwise, the word Brahman itself will lose its significance, because Brahman, it is Bhuma, it is unlimited, unending. The moment you attribute some limitedness to that, the next moment it will become Abrahma. That is the problem. Nahi atmanah anyad anatma bhutam tat pravibhakta deshakalam sukshmam vyavahitam viprakrishtam bhutam bhavat bhavishyadva vastu vidyate. See, in this world also, there is nothing apart from the Brahman that which is non-self and real. It's not possible. Tat pravibhakta deshakalam, that which is divided into many in space and time, sukshmam, either in the subtle form, vyavahitam, very far, or viprakrishtam, or just separated, or bhutam, bhavat, bhavishyat, which was in the past, which is in the present, or which will be in the future, whatever it may be. Nahi atmanaha anyat vastu vidyate. This is the idea of the sentence, the entire passage of Shankaracharya. What he wants to say is atmanaha anyad vastu na vidyate. This is the statement, prime statement. That means there is nothing apart from the self, the consciousness, that is Brahman. Nothing apart. When he says nothing, he actually explains that. Not in three divisions of time, not in any form, etc. Ataha namarupe sarvavaste brahmanaiva atmavati. So therefore, the name and form that have emanated from the Brahman should necessarily be not different from the Brahman. That's the idea. But mind you, this is very important, because in the Bhagavad Gita also the same idea is expressed, that when something emanates from the Brahman, that carries the nature of the Brahman, but the Brahman does not carry the nature of the manifested one, because manifested one has got limitation, and you cannot see any limitation in the Brahma, but the limited one is manifested from the Brahman only. Otherwise all the scriptural sentences will become useless. So this idea is expressed in the Bhagavad Gita also. Maite nahanteshu. He says, these are all in me, but I don't depend on all these. That is the idea. They all depend on me. I don't depend on this. What is the sense? That's what the fourth skandha of Bhagavatam tells us. While explaining the term adhara, it says, abhasascha nirodhascha yatastu adhyavasiyate sa ashreya param brahma. So the Brahma is the base of all manifestation. And see, whatever is manifested depends on the Brahman, but Brahman does not depend on all this. That is the idea. So Shankaracharya also tells that all this is of Brahmatmakam, but Brahma na tadatmakam. So Brahman does not carry the characteristics of its own creation, because the created one has all limitations and impurity. Brahman doesn't have that. Te tat pratyakhyane nastaha eveti tadatmake uchyete. Then when tat pratyakhyane nastaha, if you negate Brahma, then it is not there. The object is not there at all, because it is part of the cosmic reality. So therefore, apart from that, it cannot have any independent existence itself. Tadatmake uchyete. And therefore, on the basis of this kind of dependence, everything is stated as Brahmatmakam. That's what the scripture says. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma, aitadatmya vidam sarvam, all this. Tabhyam cha upadibhyam jnatrujnaya jnana shabdarthadi sarva samvyavahara bhak Brahma. And because of these adjuncts, conditions, nama, rupa, the Brahman also appears as having this name and form. As such, the Brahman has no name and form. So, because of this name and form only, we differentiate all, saying that one is Jnata, other is Jnaya, other is Jnana. But ultimately, everything is Brahma. But we say, I, the Pramata, I am the Jnata, and I know something, it is Jnaya, it is different from me. And the knowledge is also different. This way, we actually land ourselves into Dvaita. That's what in the Vedanta Paribhasha also, while explaining the nature of the Pramana, Pratyaksha Pramana, direct perception, Dharmaraja Advendra explains, Ekamapi Chaitanyam Tridha. Pramana Chaitanyam, Pramatru Chaitanyam, Prameya Chaitanyam. Vishaya Chaitanyam, Pramatru Chaitanyam, Pramana Chaitanyam. So how one Chaitanya being there, how can you say three Chaitanya? But he explains very intelligently that Vritti Upahita Chaitanyam, Pramana Chaitanyam. Pramana Chaitanyam is nothing but the same Chaitanya, just having some Vritti for its Upadhi. And Vishaya Chaitanya, it is dormant, but when the Vritti reaches there, it gets manifested. And that Vritti is said as Jnana in the secondary sense. Vrittau Jnanamiti Upacharyate. So the Chittavritti itself is stated as Jnana. You cannot expect other Jnana apart from the Chittavritti. So Chittavritti is Jnana, or Vritti itself is Jnana. Then what about this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma? Is it some vritti? As such, Brahman is jnana, but Brahman, when the Brahman is alone, secondless, then what should be the nature of the jnana? When there is no other to know, what will be the nature of the knowledge? Knowing. Because knowing presupposes the existence of another thing. That's what the Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita argue. They say that all jnana should be savisheka. Nirvisheka jnanasya apramanyatva. So it cannot be pramanya. So when you say like that, when Brahman is alone, secondless, so should there be any jnana? Then if it is jnanavat, the Brahman, then jnana of what? We can say that saha atmanam avet aham brahmasmiti. We can justify that it is self-awareness, knowing oneself. Because atmanam avet, that's what the scripture says. But there cannot be any other to know. So therefore, that particular jnana being there should be vritti, that is sokamayata, tadaikshata, that kind of vritti in the Brahman may be accepted. But if you accept vritti, should there be a mind, antahkarana? And if there is antahkarana, will that absolute Brahma become the second Brahma, that is Karya Brahma? So all these are the Vedanta problems. So here Shankaracharya explains, see, sa atmaivam kamaha san tapotapyata. That Atma, that which is the source of all creation, desired to become many and performed penance. Penance, tapa iti jnanam uchyate. That's what Shankaracharya says. Tapa is not like any individual growing beard, growing matted hair, sitting somewhere in a secluded place and getting into himself. That is tapasya in the ordinary sense. But in the case of Brahman, you cannot expect that kind of tapa. This tapa should be in the form of jnana. So when he desired and he just contemplated, and that contemplation led further vibrations within in the form of tapa. Yasya jnanam ayam tapaha, Mundaka Upanishad also says that the supreme entity has jnanam in the form of tapa. Iti shrutyantara. Aptakamatvacha itarasya asambhaveva tapasaha. So there cannot be any other kind of tapa because he is aptakama. Tat tapaha atapyata. So he performed that. That means he just designed. Surjamana jagat rachanadi vishaya alochanam akarot. Exactly. So he just designed what should be created, what form. And now the result is the multifarious, that the design of which universe cannot be understood anytime. We cannot understand. We try to understand, like about the plants, about the beings, about everything, like plant genetics, embryology, everything. We try to get into the true nature of that, or the motive of that, or the design of that, and ultimately we succeed in knowing the process, not the beginning. Yes, we get into the process, we understand the process, appreciate that, and make some changes also. But ultimate beginning of that remains always unknown. Saha evam aluchya, having thus contemplated and thought of the design, tapastaptva pranikarmadi nimitta nurupam idam sarvam jagat deshatah kalato namna rupena cha yadanubhavam sarvaih pranibhihi sarvavasthair anubhuyamanam asrijata srishtavan. So then the Brahma created this entire world according to the deeds of those souls for their next births. It can be like a tree, like a plant, like an animal, like a human being, anything. And then space, time, name, form, with the help of all this, sarvaih pranibhi sarvavasthaihi anubhuyamanam asrujata. So he created the entire universe, which is a matter of experience to all the beings according to their level of consciousness. Yadidam kincha, whatever is known, tadidam jagat srishtva, having created this, kimakarot, what did he do then? Tadeva srushtam jagad anupravishat. Then, having created the world, then he entered into that. Entered, anupravisha. That means created and permeated that. Tadeta chintyam. Now, there is a point to discuss. Mutable point here. Katham anupravishaditi. Now, we should explain how he entered into that. Kim yasrashtas teneva atmana anupravishadutta niyaneti. Now tell me whether the Brahman entered into its creation in its own form or differently. Kim tavad yuktam? What do you think? Sruštva anupravishad. There is no gap between these two. So therefore, tva pratyaya shravanad yasrashta saeva anupravishad. So this is with the help of the grammar. Adi Shankaracharya explains, pointing to the tat srishtva tadeva anupravishat. So there are two verbal forms. One is srishtva, another is anupravishat. Having created, it entered. And generally in Sanskrit language, when in a sentence the suffix is used as tva, samana kartrukayoho, purvakale pracham tva. So srishtva is like gatva. Srishtva means after creating. What did he do? Actually here, the immediate verbal form that follows is anupravishat. So, snatva bhuktavan. When this is the sentence in general Sanskrit, snatva bhuktavan, it means after taking bath, he had his meals. So, there are two actions. One is taking bath and other is taking meal. But in between, there is no other action at all. That's what the sentence says. No action, no activity. Because he had taken bath and had his meals. That's all. So two verbs are connected. Two activities are connected with this tva. So Shankaracharya points to that sruštva anupravishat. Srushti is one activity. Anupravesha is another activity. And there is no activity intermediate, mediating between these two. So therefore, anupravesha should be immediately done one. And another important point is the agent of these two activities must be common. Aham snatva bhunje. Aham snatva gacchami. So, after taking bath, I go. So, I am the agent of the two activities there. I am the doer. So, always the karta will be one of these two activities, especially when the tva, lyap are used. Shankaracharya says, tat sruštva tadeva anupravishat also hints to the fact that the Brahman created and entered. That means whoever is the creator, that entered. Nanu. Now, again a doubt. Na yuktam mrudvachet karanam brahma tadatmakatvat karyasya. Karanamevi karyatmana parinamat. Ityato apravishtaiva karyotpatte rurdhvam pruthak karanasya punah praveshaha anupapannaha. Nanu, it's actually a kind of doubt. Nanu, na yuktam mrudvachet karanam. If Brahman is understood as the cause of the universe, like the clay, the cause of the pot, then automatically the effect will be of the nature of the cause. The pot will be of the nature of the clay. So therefore, why does it enter? If it is the upadana karana, it automatically permeates the effect. So therefore, after creating that, it entered. So that anupravesha is not possible. Karyatmana, karanameva hi karyatmana parinatam. Because the cause itself has modified itself into the effect. Ityataha aprayishtaiva karyotpattir urdhvam pruthak karanasya punah praveshaha anupapannaha. So therefore, when the cause has already entered into that, it has taken the form of the effect as if it is separate. Mentioning that it has now entered into the effect is not good, because on the basis of this, we will land into two conclusions. One is the Brahman is not the Upadana Karana. Second, creating the universe, if the Brahman has entered later, that at the moment of the creation, the world was verily not of the nature of the Brahman, because Brahman has entered later. So the matter should have its own nature, then Brahman must have permeated. That is the problem. Nahi ghata parinama vyatirekena mrudo ghate praveshaha asti. See, when the pot is made out of clay, we never see that the pot is first made, then the clay enters into that. It is never possible. Always the clay itself becomes pot. And there is no anupravesha in the matter of the clay also. Similarly, if the Brahman is understood as the cause of the world, then the world is of the nature of Brahma because it is the effect of Brahma. All effects carry the characteristics of their material cause. So Brahman being the material cause, the world is already Brahman. So what is the necessity to state that the Brahman has later entered? Yadha ghate churnatmana mrudaha anupraveshaha evam anyena atmana namarupakari anupravesha atmana iti chet. A kind of justification says, see, that clay becomes the pot, of course, but churnatmana mrudaha anupraveshaha. So first it loses its own nature, it becomes powdered, and then it enters into the pot. Evam anyena atmana namarupakari anupravesha atmanaha. So can we say that the Brahman enters into its own effect in another form, not as Atma? Is it possible? But it is also not possible, because this Upanishad itself says anena jivena atmana namarupe vyakarma. So it actually entered in the form of the Atma, not in a different form. Iti naivam yuktam ekatvad brahmanaha. Now Shankaracharya explains, in a way answers all the problems cited, all the doubts he clears, and if those people have different argument also, he puts forth proper logic or reasoning so that the other person also can get convinced. Mrudatmanastu anekatvat savayavatvatcha yuktah ghate mrudaschurnatmana anupraveshaha. He says, this argument is not proper because you have given the example of the clay, but the example of clay does not suit the context well. That is the problem. Because in the case of the clay, anekatvat, because it is many, because it is having parts, because it occupies some space, whatever you have said may apply to the clay, may fit properly in the context. But what about this Brahma? Brahma is niravaya. Mrudaschurnasya apravishta deshavatvacha. Mrudaha mrudaschurnasya, that means the clay powder, apravishta deshavatvacha. it does not enter into any space there. Natu atmanah ekatve, when the Atman being one, single, sati niravayavatvat apravishta deshabhavacha pravesha upapadyate. A limited object may enter into limited, but an unlimited one is already present there. So, niravayavatvat apravishta desha abhavacha. There cannot be any space that is not already occupied by the Brahman. Then this occupancy itself is known as anupravesha. Katham tarhi praveshaha? How can it enter? Are yuktascha praveshaha shrutatvat tadeva anupravishaditi. Yeah, this is the scriptural statement that it has entered. So you have to trust the scriptural sentence. But if we understand that the effect is permeated by the cause, it is stated as anupravesha. This is according to the scripture. Then, if you accept that the Brahman has entered into that, then wouldn't it become savayava with parts limited? Savayavatvat mukhe hastapraveshavat namarupakarye jivatmana anupravesho yukta evitiche. So if it is limited, then like the hand into the mouth, the Brahman also can enter into all the matter. So will it do? Na. Shankaracharya says, no, not in that sense. Ashunya deshatvat. Because see, the hand is somewhere else, the mouth is somewhere else, and the hand reaches the mouth, okay. But Brahman is that reality that which has already pervaded the entire universe. So there is nothing that is beyond the purview of this Brahma. So therefore you cannot say, you cannot give the example also. Nahi karyatmana parinatsya namarupa karya desha vetirekena atmashunyah pradeshosti yam pravishet jivatmana. He says, see, the entire creation is an effect of the Brahman in the form of different names and forms, occupying some limited space and time. And there is no space or matter in this universe which is devoid of this Atma Tattva. Therefore, how can the Brahma enter into something in the form of Jivatma? Karanameva chet pravishet jivatmatvam jihya. If it enters as cause, then it cannot be Jivatma. Yatha ghato mrutpraveshe ghatatvam jahati. Just as the effect, when it gets back to its cause, then it loses its special identity as pot. Yes, because when pot is broken into pieces, when it is reduced into the clay, then it loses its identity as the pot. Now it is only clay or the pieces of pot. Exactly. So if the Brahman enters in the form of the Jiva, then it will lose its nature of Karana. Then everything cannot be Brahmatmaka because it has taken another form. Tadevanupravishad iti cha shrutihi na karananupraveshe yuktaha. So, tadevanupravishat iti cha shrutehe, that itself has entered. That is the scripture. So, therefore, the karana should not have entered into the effect. Then it cannot be the karana itself. That is the problem again. Then karanam karyantarameva syad iti cha. If we understand that it is not the cause, then it is another effect that has entered. Should we understand in this manner? Tadeva anupravishiti jivatma rupam karyam namarupa parinatam karyantarameva apadyata iti chet. But see, this particular argument has continued till this point. And in this point, if we forget our major theory, basic theory, and accept that yes, Jivatma is the effect of Brahma, and Brahma enters into its effect in the form of his another effect called the Jiva, then it is absolutely against his own theory of Shankaracharya. So the Siddhantakara should be very alert. Otherwise, what happens? So the argument has continued, and they have reached a particular point where the proponent is arguing and the opponent says the jiva must be accepted as the effect. This is Vakyartha, Vada. Then if the Siddhanti accepts, then Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, that theory will be lost, completely lost. But it is the pivotal theory of Advaita, Jivo Brahmaiva. But if we say Brahma is the Karana, Jiva is the Karya, then the major theory of the Advaita system will be at stake. Therefore, Shankaracharya says immediately, no, we don't say that Jiva is the effect of Brahma, Virodhat, there is clash. Nahi ghataha ghatantaram apadyate. He says, a pot cannot become another pot. Vitireka shruti virodhacha. Not only that, the scriptural statement of the negativity, or you can say the difference, will be totally undefended. That means there will be a kind of opposition to that particular scriptural statement. Jivasya namarupa karya vyatireka anuvadinyah shrutayah viruddheran. Shankaracharya further explains his own statement that whatever scriptural statements are describing the namarupa karya vyatireka, the jiva as different from namarupa karya, name, form, that kind of effect, jiva is different from that. So what will happen? If we accept jiva as the effect of the Brahman, then automatically we will be going against such scriptural sentences which state the individual soul or jiva as different from namarupa karya. Nahi yato muchyamanas tadeva apadyate. But as a general rule, we should not get into the same problem out of which we are trying to pull out, out of which we are trying to pull ourselves. And we are trying to avoid that, and we land in that. That's not good. Nahi shrunkhalapattir baddhasya taskaradehe. So it's actually baddhasya taskaradehe shrunkhalapattihi. It's not proper. Like becoming a chain to a thief or somebody who is already chained. What is the use of that? Shrunkhalapattihi anuchita. So till this, Shankaracharya explains that the jiva is definitely not an effect of the Brahman. He is verily the Brahman. That's what we should know, understand from the Advaita all Bhashya. And in this particular context, Shankaracharya explains tadapatto moksha asambhavacha. If we understand jiva also as an effect of Brahma, there is another problem lurking behind. That is, the jiva cannot have any liberation anytime. Anirmoksha prasangaha. Nahi yato muchyamanas tadeva apadyate. Because if jiva is a karya, then the problem is karya has to perish. Then jiva will also perish. If jiva also perishes, then what to talk about the moksha, eternity of that bliss, all that? It will not have any sense at all. So this way, what he has been trying to avoid as bondage will definitely come on its own and connect to him. That's not good. So therefore, we understand that the jiva is different from the matter, and his clinging to the matter itself is the bondage, and it is through mind and vasanas, because without vasana there is no mind. Because in the fourth part of Yoga Sutra also Patanjali Maharshi says, Hetu phalashrayalambhanaihi grihitatvat tesham abhave tadabhavaha. So because the vasana have the mind as their substratum or the place where they reside. If you remove vasana, there is no chitta. If you remove chitta, there are no vasana. That's what Yoga Vasishta also says. And ultimately, we should try to first know these in their true nature and gradually dilute them, totally evaporating. Then vasana and chitta, everything being totally evaporated, nothing remains there. Yes, matter does not remain, because matter has been an idea. Now the jiva remains in its true form as tada drashtu swarupe avasthan, the chaitanya, the consciousness. So that is actually the liberation. And if you say that the jiva is matter, then he cannot have any liberation anytime. So that is the problem. Here we stop, and in the next class we'll see the discussion further. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.